Well, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to do the European outlook today. Going to have a look at weather for the coming week across the continent in Europe. Now, before we go, we're going to talk about the advertising-based video ads on my pages at GazWeatherViz.com. Hit play on the video ad, you'll be supporting GazWeatherViz.com. Thanks very much for doing that. The story of the week ahead is basically going to be low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, feeding weather systems across Western Europe and into central parts of Europe as well. Consequently, we'll be pushing the cold air further and further east through the coming week. So this is today's synoptic pressure chart. We've got low pressure out in the Atlantic, piling in across the continent, high pressure blocking up to the northeast over western parts of Russia, but being forced a long way back now. Most of the continent is under low pressure sort of conditions. The upper air temperatures today show that much of Europe is warm or mild for the time of year, very mild across much of southern and southeast Europe through the Mediterranean down into the southeast. It's cooler up to the north and the west, but it's not cold, it's just relatively cooler with Atlantic air, cooler sort of Atlantic air coming in, but nowhere across the continent particularly cold in terms of those upper air temperatures. That's a mild scene for much of Europe. The dew points show we've got some dew points below freezing across central parts of Europe and up to the northeast, but it really is a mild scene for much of the continent today. So we're going to have a lot of rain across France and northern parts of Spain. Over the Pyrenees, of course, it will be falling as snow. Also heavy snow over the Alps and rain across Italy, coming down into the Adriatic, through in towards the coast of the Balkans. But it's a drier slot there through eastern parts of Europe before we run into some snow up across the northeast of Europe and back into Russia. Also some snow for northern Scandinavia. Showers and maybe a longer spell of rain in the southeast of England today. Temperatures, well, it's pretty mild really across many parts. It's still quite cold up to the northeast, I suppose. Temperatures 1-2 degrees. But when you think what it could be at this time of year across eastern and northeast parts of Europe, I think that's pretty mild, to be honest. And most of central and western Europe actually on the mild side, as it is going down into the Mediterranean and into the southeast of Europe as well. Now, as we move through to the middle of the week, the next area of low pressure going to be coming in off the Atlantic, quite a deep area of low pressure. That another major storm hitting the British Isles. That's going to impact weather across many central parts of Europe going into the latter stages of the week. So really wet and windy for Ireland and Britain midweek. Some severe gales, heavy rain piling in again. And we've still got showers or longer spells of rain across many parts of the continent through the middle of the week. Some snow perhaps up over Scandinavia. The dew points again show that the dew points below freezing, where the cold air is really for Scandinavia, west parts of Russia, and going down into the east of Europe. But I have to emphasise, even here, it is generally on the mild side. It's mild through the Mediterranean, it's mild in much of the west of Europe as well. Very wet across Ireland, Britain and France through the middle of the week. Some really heavy rain, some outbreaks of snow, sleet or snow across Scandinavia. And some rain, sleet or snow across the east of Europe as well. And then a drier slot through the central areas where there could be some mist and fog patches. Temperatures, again, not particularly cold anywhere. The coldest up to the northeast and across Scandinavia. But really for the time of year, it isn't that bad. It's pretty mild up there at 1-2 degrees. Many areas well above freezing. And it's particularly mild through the Mediterranean and going up the western side of Europe. Yet another Atlantic storm is driving in as we move through into Friday. That's going to be bringing more stormy winds and heavy rain across the British Isles. But winds all the while across many central west parts of the continent, much of the continent really, coming from a south or southwesterly direction. So it remains on the mild side. Actually, we're going to push up some very mild air across Spain, Portugal and France on the southern side of that storm system. It's colder up to the northeast, but not desperately cold. And the coldest temperatures again will be over Scandinavia. Dew points are below freezing across Scandinavia, western parts of Russia, and in the far east of Europe as well, just hovering around freezing. So a little bit cold there, could be some frost at night. But very mild in the west with those dew points, particularly for France, Spain and Portugal in those yellow colours. Really wet scene for Portugal, northern parts of Spain into France, Ireland, the British Isles. Heavy rain sweeping north and east with that area of low pressure will be severe gales as well. Elsewhere, not too bad really across the continent. Some patchy sleet or snow over Scandinavia. Rain probably or sleet coming down into Poland. But much of Europe will be dry, I think, at the end of the week. But that area of low pressure will eventually come in and produce a lot of wet weather. Temperatures very mild, taste of spring for much of France, up to 13, 14, 15 degrees. This is suggesting 19 possible down across the south of France. That's getting on 70 Fahrenheit. Be very mild for Spain and Portugal as well. Most of the continent on the chilly side, but not cold for the time of year. And then finally, we're going to end the forecast period on Sunday next weekend with, again, low pressure dominating over Scandinavia. That's from a storm system that's moving across the British Isles on Friday. And we're in this sort of flat westerly flow with the high pressure ridging in off the Atlantic through Spain and Portugal. So it'll be a little bit colder over Scandinavia, some quite heavy snow I think next weekend up there, possibly come down into western parts of Russia as well, maybe turning colder through Germany and Poland and Denmark also. But conversely, much of the Mediterranean will be very mild, a taste of spring through much of the Med, and we've got mild air coming back in towards the British Isles as well towards the end of next weekend. Has turned colder over Scandinavia with those dew points. That's proper cold air now, not silly cold that we've got through much of this week. That's proper cold, and it will be producing heavy snow for much of Scandinavia with that low pressure next weekend. Otherwise, it's a pretty mild scene, to be honest, across most of Europe. So, snow over Scandinavia, pushing into western Russia. Could be some wintry conditions also coming down into Denmark, Poland and Germany. Otherwise, we're probably looking at rain, to be honest, further south and east of that, coming down in towards the Balkans. Pretty mild air down there. And also rain showers for the British Isles on a strong westerly wind. But Med, mainly dry and that ridge of high pressure. Temperatures generally above freezing for most of Europe, away from Scandinavia, where temperatures will be below freezing. It is cold there and about trough of low pressure finally. Next weekend it does turn cold. But otherwise, pretty mild scene. For most parts of Europe, temperatures several degrees above freezing, particularly mild through the Med, where it'd be a taste of spring. So, in summary, it's going to be a mild week for much of Europe this week. Very unsettled, more areas of low pressure driving in off the Atlantic, particularly bringing stormy weather to Ireland, the British Isles, and France. At the end of the week, a taste of spring for Spain, Portugal, and France. So enjoy it if you're down there. Otherwise, batten down a hatchet, and wherever you go, make sure you've got a brolly with you. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.